So I'm very excited to be able to introduce to you Jason Huggins, who we've all met now, which is lovely. He's the director of of global delivery at Uniface, and he's here to talk to us today about agility, and it's an absolutely fabulous talk. So if we could all give Jason a quick round of applause, and I'll hand over to him.
Woo! Nice.
Okay, so yeah, thanks for the introduction. Yeah, as mentioned, I'm the Director of Delivery at Uniface. I'm basically responsible for solution delivery. Uniface, just for reference, is our low-code cross-platform delivery platform. Basically, from mobile to mainframe, we can deliver solutions. So, business agility, what we're here to talk about. It's the ability of a business to rapidly respond to change. I mean, as we all know, the only constant in life is change, and this spans all industries, all solutions, all parts of life. In short, everybody just wants more quicker, not from greed, but out of necessity. What I'm going to do, because this is such a large topic, is just focus on one aspect of solution delivery, and that's about adding accessible business value quickly. And in particular, I'm going to talk about mobile solutions and mobile apps, and my conclusion that mobile provides a simple way to improve business agility, and most importantly, doing that here and now. So when I talk about agility, I very quickly move into the realms of innovation. They are related. It is a complex relationship and it does change over time. And what I mean by that is if we look at something like a startup by definition is very innovative and very agile at the start. But as time passes and its estate grows and the legacy builds, it tends to stifle that agility and innovation. Now, there have been many ideas about how to keep the lights on challenge that many of you would have heard about. And that's where budget is often feeding maintenance rather than innovation and new growth. It is a tricky challenge, but what I'm going to talk about is mobile and how that can be used to, in part, address that challenge. So part of it is thinking about revolution or evolution and the type of world we live in when talking about innovation. Now, there's a strange metaphor. When I first rode the London to Brighton, I didn't think about every single part of the journey and how I was going to get from the start to the finish. What I thought about was the next step, or realistically, the next mile, the 60-mile ride. I just concentrated on making it to each extra mile. Of course, I had the vision in place of making it to Brighton in one piece, but for me, it was all about that evolution journey, getting from start to finish. Likewise, if we look at the mobile phone market, the topic of my talk, we didn't just go from that brick-sized phone with a separate power supply to the smartphone of today. We went through an evolutionary process and a number of steps. Now, there will always be scope for revolutionary change, but for the majority of us, the more realistic route is an evolutionary approach, taking incremental steps towards the overall solution we're after. Now, an important thing to consider is failure. Now, when I say such as early, fast, often, or better, these are all great words in business. When we look at agile, then the ideas of fail early, fail fast, fail often, and fail better are key. The principles themselves are very strong and support the idea of experimentation, learning, and growth. What I'd suggest, if you haven't seen Eddie's TED Talk on smart failure for a fast changing world, definitely have a look at that because he really addresses this concept. And yeah, he introduces the concept of smart failure. Now, the reason I mention this is because we are inherently conditioned not to fail from a very young age, and using that word fail is difficult for some of us. However, it is an essential part of evolutionary innovation. Whatever we say, the word fail just still always feels bad and it does provoke negative reactions. And so when you are trying to introduce something new or pitch new ideas, it can be a blocker. Now, we all need to be able to embrace and enable a mindset shift towards this evolutionary style of working in ourselves and others So one of the first steps of that is basically getting rid of the word failure. So when I talk about failure early, failing fast, if we did something simple like success fast, success early, it will invoke a very different emotional reaction. So that leads us into the first pet session, where I want you to think about some of the phrases and what you could replace fail with. So if we move to the first pet session.
So if your name starts from A to L, your first name, you click on where it says A to L, so you have a chance to come closer to the first pet. And the same if you're from M to Z. Good. In the bottom right hand corner, or you can right click on this blank pad in front of us and choose sticky note and move it around. You beat me, or not. Okay, so any insights to share before we can move on to the next bit?
Just one of the interesting words that came up in one of the groups was achieve. Was a very nice replacement, because achieve early, achieve fast, achieve often, achieve better. No one's going to say no to that. And for me, that gives me a nice warm feeling inside.
Yeah.
Well
Nice.
done. Nice. Okay, so if you can all join at the view presentation again, so we can have a chance to look at the next bit. That's view presentation.
Okay, so I've talked about mobile, and the reason I'm saying mobile is because mobile basically lends itself towards low-risk evolutionary innovation. The nature of mobile apps and mobile devices and the usage patterns basically support the idea of just doing one task well. And by that, it then means you usually have a very small subset of focused requirements and features. So for example, like to draw a metaphor, if I said, do I need a fully functional word processor on my mobile device? Chances are I don't. What I probably just need is the ability to review the files I already have. And what you'll find is business apps, which are transitioning across to mobile devices, will basically form part of a composite enterprise solution, where the mobile basically targets specific goals. And in the agile way, it is totally commonplace for mobile devices to have regular small updates with enhancements and features. So, inspiration. Well, to tell a story, I love snowboarding, and I once found myself laid out in a hotel wondering what I'd do. Reason for this was, unfortunately, I had an accident day one, and so I was bedbound for the week. So it was then I decided to think, like, what can I do? I'll try something on mobile. It was before I'd actually tried mobile. So I had to think about some of my personal challenges, downloaded some tools, and literally within a matter of hours, I published my first apps to the Google stores. Upon returning home, checking the stores, I'd seen that within 2 weeks, I'd had a few thousand downloads of my application, which was amazing. And for me, what was just a simple, small problem, I realised was solving the challenges of many others, and therefore got the downloads. Now, I'm not suggesting here that everyone jumps on a snowboard and hurts themselves, because that's not a productive way to find ideas. But in essence, the key thing I saw there was by taking the time, it gave me a chance to recognise a challenge and turn it into a creative idea. Requirements will naturally just come to you from others, where the business says, we need this, we need that. However, I personally try to always remember the words ask, listen, observe, explore, dream, improve, and any other similar words, and then apply these when looking for inspiration. For example, say, who can I ask? What do I see? How can we improve what we already have? It's just looking at 3 areas of evolutionary evolution. The first one, and again, quite straightforward, is building on what you have. If you wanted a new room in your house, you're not necessarily, and it's probably not prudent, to knock your whole house down and rebuild it. What's better is a loft conversion or maybe an extension. Likewise, with IT solutions, it doesn't make sense to go back to the drawing board. it's better and easier and more productive just to extend what you have, and again, in this case, by extending it through mobile apps and mobile solutions. Another thing is get inspiration from others. Leverage the brain trust within your organization. We found that things such as hackathons and rad races, where you gather a group of people to share ideas and work on common challenges, does yield lots of good ideas. It's important to involve everybody, not just the technical team. However, always bear in mind, don't try to go too big too quickly. Even with something like this approach, make it an evolutionary process and grow it over time. And then referring back to my snowboarding story, listen to yourself and give yourself time to think. I bet everybody in this room can think of times you found yourself saying, if only I could, or what if I could do something with, or I should write this down, or I wonder if. Every time you have those sorts of thoughts going through your mind, it's dealing with a pain and a potential innovative idea. So give yourself to think about those and take the ideas to the next level. Okay, so that brings us on to the next workshop.
Okay, so again, if we can all go back to the large workshop whiteboard. Okay, thank you. And we also had some nice insights from Keith. Are you happy to share, Keith?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's the old adage of life. You don't quit. You just keep getting up and keep going at it. But I think one of the things that I find as a teacher is that if somebody doesn't understand something, it's because you failed to explain it properly. You haven't seen it through their perspective, or you haven't tried to communicate with a student from their point of view. It's one of the things that we ran through for the Higher Education Academy, was that you might teach in one dimensions, but your students learn in three. So they learn breadth, depth, and through time. So it's cumulative processes. So unless you understand the structure of how people understand your information and how to build layers on it, particularly if you're introducing something new, then it needs to be in a very structured format that other people can see through their perspective. So really all of that ties into the same basic theme. Anyway, that's my thoughts.
Thank you. Jason, anything else to add? Any thoughts?
No, nothing to add. That feedback's been brilliant, and yeah, it's been quite insightful for me also, because I've came into this exercise and set the exercise with a particular vision, and now I'm hearing other angles, and they're brilliant. So thank you.
Okay, so if you can...
You'll get my bill for that shortly.
Okay, Simon, anything to add? Simon, you also had some good thoughts.
No, I think it's just about finding time for it and wanting to, being happy to expose your sort of developing ideas to others so they can actually nurture them, rather than keeping them to yourself, thinking, well, I won't share that, it's not ready to be shared. To let them help them grow.
Okay, so if we can all go back to the view presentation.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so yeah, for the last part, why have I picked on mobile? I'll explain that now, or a bit more. If I just jump back in time a bit to the early 90s, and I remember the days of saying, why would I need a mobile device? Then I bought my mobile, and camera phones came out, and I'm like, well, I've got a camera, why would I want a camera in my phone? Followed by, I don't need a calculator on my phone, and so on and so on. The mobile arena, including tablets and all the other variants, just felt like another gadget fad to a certain extent. I mean, thankfully, like I say, it didn't take long for me to open my eyes and absolutely welcome like the richness and possibilities of mobile devices. When you look across the various devices, whether it's a phone, a tablet, whatever it may be, the number of capabilities and features you have and the interoperability between the different functions do offer significant business benefit, whether it's cameras, GPSs, thermometers, barometers, compasses, assistances, whether it's online or offline. They're just a few of the possibilities, and the way you can combine these functions is potentially outstanding. The key thing here is, compared to a normal desktop or laptop application, a mobile device exceeds what you can achieve. Interestingly, one of the best features we've found over the years and impacts everybody's lives is one of the most simple features, and that's just push notifications, where you get that little notification saying there's something to do. So let's just look at a few examples. In the business context, I'm sure we've all dealt with expenses, potentially lost receipts, forgotten the rules.
Yes.
Had a day of admin at the end of each month trying to collate it together, typing into an Excel spreadsheet, and basically just getting frustration and losing business value. These days, you can simply mobilize a solution, capture the receipt with a camera on the phone, have some OCR, and automatically populate everything. And you can basically do that real time. When you spend something, you scan it, and you've claimed it there and then. So the benefit speaks for itself. In what are most of our business solutions, there will always be some sort of workflow or some sort of process, and they will normally have some sort of approval or rejection or acceptance criteria. And traditionally, it would mean making sure the approving manager or responsible party had to be in the office or at a laptop or connected via VPN, navigating a complex solution. Basically, it could take time and lead to issues. These days, with your mobile device, it's as simple as a notification popping up real time with the pertinent information there, and then you just clicking yes or no with a single click. The solution becomes so much easier and so much more productive. Something I've experienced a lot when going to restaurants, and you may have felt yourself, is being offered or given a tablet instead of a menu. Again, the benefits of this are you can see what items are actually available that day, get nutritional information, and place the order at the table without having to wave around trying to grab the attention of a waiter or waitress. So again, just a simple use of the technology in an innovative way that again saves a lot of or adds a lot of business value. Again, just a small extension to what is probably already an existing system within the organisations. Another good one that I've personally experienced recently is my 2-year-old child recently had an accident, as little children do. Seems to run in my family, snowboarding, little children, accidents. What stood out was the use of mobile in the hospital. We had to go to radiology for a small x-ray on his finger, and by the time I got back to the consultant, he was already looking at it on the tablet. That in itself was brilliant, but something else they did to improve the business process was use that tablet to take a photograph of the wristband and the barcode on the wristband, just to ensure that the patient records were actually matched and in sync. So again, just a small innovative use of the technology, but adds immense value. So they're just a few things to consider that hopefully give you a few ideas of how you could exploit mobile. So to summarize, I've talked about supporting agility through evolutionary innovation, and I've tied that into mobile because of the innovative possibilities and what you can do quickly and easily with mobile. It offers a lot of features and benefits. So yeah, if there's one thing I can ask you to take away, is just look into mobile and where it could help you in your solutions. That leads us on to the closing breakout topic, well, when we're sitting around on the round tables afterwards, and basically just have a discussion between yourselves of where's mobile helped you or where else could it help you. Just like to thank you for listening, and I hope you've enjoyed this session.
Okay, nice.
Okay.
Thank you, Jason. Perhaps the next round of applause for Nathan. Good. Let's go to the place called chat, so we can, discuss what Jason has suggested. Where has mobility helped us, and where else could it help? So chat. Find a table.
Alright. See if anyone else is going to join us. If not, it'll be cozy chat.
We're cozy chat.
I'll
Well, I'm
go for
looking at
that.
the wall.
Yeah,
I should
sounds
sit
like
round
fun
the
to
other
me.
side.